Ever wish you could just hit like the pause button on life? You know when the deadlines are insane and the to-do list is out the door? Like you freeze everything and catch your breath.
Oh, yeah. It's like a universal fantasy, right? To control the one thing you can never actually get a grip on.
Exactly. But then flip that for a second. What about having too much time instead of never enough?
Okay, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah. So that's our deep dive today. And we're going to a fascinating place, a short story. elreloy.pdf, The Clock in English, that kind of throws this guy into the exact situation.
And what grabs me right away is it's not about chasing time, really. It's facing the weight of it, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Like what happens when the thing you think you want, you actually get? And it all starts, when you know it, in a classic dusty antique shop. Our main man, who we're told isn't really an impulse buyer, that kind of stumbles into this shop.
And the setting's important, right? It's not some big magical feeling place, just a normal shop, normal stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Lulls you into this false sense of security before things get weird.
Totally. Because there it is, almost glowing in this dusty shop, this small gold pocket watch, like almost out of place in this whole scene.
Yeah.
And the shopkeeper seems like a pretty shrewd guy. He points to it and just says, todo tiene su tiempo.
Everything has its time.
Yeah.
Simple, but man, in this story, that's like loaded.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Like foreshadowing level 1000.
Totally.
And of course, our guy's hooked. Now, what's so special about this watch? The shopkeeper, cryptic as ever, just says, it stops time.
Not your average sales pitch. I mean, how do you even respond to that?
I know, right? And the way the author writes it, it's so simple, but it just throws the whole story for a loop.
Totally agree.
So our protagonist, skeptical but intrigued, like anyone would be, asks how much. And the answer? $5.
$5 for
Yeah.
a time-bending artifact. Come on, you'd spend more on a latte these days.
Seriously. But I think that's part of it, right? You dismiss it at first because it's just so normal. Like we don't even grasp what's about to go down. So he walks out, $5 lighter, watch in hand. You'd think, right, maybe test it out. You know, something small before you go messing with the space-time continuum.
Right, like what does this thing do to a houseplant?
Exactly. But nope, not our guy. He just clicks the button.
And boom, everything just stops. Imagine that. The world just goes silent. Cars in the middle of the street, people mid-sentence, even the dust just frozen.
It's like something out of a movie, right? Makes you really picture it.
Oh, totally. And that's important, I think, because it puts us right there with him. This sudden, intense quiet. And his first reaction, not fear, like at all.
It's almost like winning the lottery, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he can go anywhere, do anything, no consequences.
Totally. Speaks to that deep down human desire to control everything, that instant gratification thing.
Oh, he goes for it too. Designer clothes, sports cars he could never afford, even takes a dip in some millionaire's rooftop pool.
Classic fantasy stuff.
Hmm.
But here's where the story gets really clever, I think.
Because it's not enough, is it? All the stuff, all the places.
Hmm.
There's still this emptiness.
Exactly. And it would have been easy to just make this be careful what you wish for story, you know?
Yeah.
But it goes deeper than that. It's like we're hardwired to connect, to share experiences.
You can't really enjoy a good meal if you have to eat it alone every night, right?
There you go. And the more he's in this bubble of frozen time, the more alone he feels.
Yeah.
He tries, though. Tries to talk to people, share a laugh.
And it's just nothing.
Yeah.
Blank stares, like talking to statues.
Haunting, right. And that emptiness, it starts to get to everything. All that initial excitement turns into this unease, you know. Then loneliness just starts to set in. He's living the dream, but it's a nightmare.
It's kind of tragic when you think about it, right? Like, stuck with the very thing he thought he wanted.
Totally. And it gets worse, because to try and deal with this loneliness, he just throws himself into, well, everything.
Yeah, the ultimate autodidact. I mean, imagine having literally all the time in the world to learn new things. Books, instruments, there's even that bit about him perfecting, like souffle.
And that's what gets me. You know, he's achieved what so many of us dream of, but at what cost? It's like, what's the point of the perfect souffle if there's no one to share it with?
He's going through the motions, but that connection, that spark, it's just gone.
Yeah. And the author says he spends like 5 years in this frozen world. 5 years of the same sunset,
Yeah.
the same silent conversations. It's heavy, you know?
The ultimate dead end. Like, he's hit the pause button on actual living.
Exactly. And it's in that moment, that utter despair, that things change. He's looking at this unchanging sunset, and the watch, this symbol of control, it starts to flicker.
Don't tell me. The batteries died.
The battery's died. It's brilliant, though, right? Not some big decision, not a magical reset, just a dead battery.
Talk about anticlimactic, but also kind of perfect. This thing that let him escape time was bound by time itself.
And it wasn't just time that was stopped, was it? It was his life. Frozen before any of those connections, those real moments could happen.
And when the world starts moving again, then what?
Regret, I think. You feel it in the story.
Yeah.
This deep sense of loss for the wasted years, the missed opportunities.
There's that part where he just leaves the watch on a cafe table, like just walks away.
Letting go, maybe,
Yeah.
of the watch, yeah, but also of that need to control everything, to exist outside of time.
So we come back to that original question, but with a new perspective. Maybe those crazy time-crunched moments, maybe they're not so bad after all.
Right. This story is a good reminder that time isn't something to escape. It's something to appreciate, even with all its imperfections. It's the shared meals, the conversations, even the bad days. That's where life really happens.
Because hitting cause, that's not really living, is it? It's more like existing in limbo.
Exactly. It's in those unscripted, messy moments of connection that time gets its meaning.
And that's a pretty good note to wrap on, I'd say. So until next time, keep those deep dive suggestions coming. And remember,
Don't forget to charge your watch.